Hi, it's Esther Kane with SeniorSafetyAdvice.com. Today I want to talk a little bit about dealing with abusive elderly parents. Now, we all often hear a lot on the news, maybe not a lot, but often enough, about abuse towards elderly. And that certainly is an issue, and it's certainly something that happens, and sadly enough. But we don't hear very much about abuse by elderly towards their caregivers, especially family caregivers. Now, I worked as an occupational therapist for 12 years, and I worked with adults, and I saw all kinds of abuse by seniors towards not only the caregivers that they paid, but definitely towards their families. It didn't matter whether they were in a hospital setting or a rehab setting, or they were living in an assisted living or a nursing home, or even in their own homes. They were, I would say, very, very angry. Now, in addition to seeing that amongst my patients, and if you're not aware, as an occupational therapist, you're not only, or as mostly as any therapist, you're not only dealing with the patient, but you're also doing therapy with the families as well, helping them to cope through whatever changes are going on in the family dynamics and in their senior loved one. Anyway, but not only did I see it with my patients, but I also experienced it with my own family. You know, my mother was a very, very strong woman. She was born in Italy and raised in Sicily during World War II. So she lived there the entire time. During that war, she saw family and friends, die as a result of injuries from the war, bombings, and going without food and shelter. And so she went through a lot, without a doubt. She went through a lot. On top of that, she married a fairly abusive man. There were many times we didn't have food or a place to live. It wasn't an easy life, is what I want to say, for the family. And she felt very much trapped with 4 children and this husband and no money, and on and on and on and on. So all of that, of course, contributed to her being a very strong, independent woman that wasn't able to really share her own feelings or even identify them, which made it very hard. I mean, she definitely had a shell around her, let's say, that no one could penetrate. And that makes it difficult. If you're have an elderly loved one that's like that, you of course want to love them and you want them to love you back, but that just isn't something that they're capable of. I myself was very, very fortunate that I worked in head injury, trauma, so that gave me experience in dealing with everything from dementia to Alzheimer's to, physical traumas, brain injuries, aneurysms, all the result of all of that type of thing. And it really helped me to see that people's personalities, that their traits, that their outlook on life is very much, created not only by their experiences, but also by their brain patterns, how they're thinking and what they're seeing and what they're allowing themselves to experience and not experience. Because if you shut yourself off, you're also going to be shutting out everybody else around you. I can tell you stories of my mother, berating us, humiliating us to no end. Just really, there was no doubt that she was pissed that she was trapped and stuck with these kids that she had to take care of. And she did take care of it. She didn't abandon us. She did what she had to do grudgingly, so, or is it begrudgingly? Whatever the word is. It was difficult to deal with her. But once I started working as an OT in head trauma, with head trauma cases, that really helped me to see her in a very different light. And I was able then to accept her as she was and not expect her to be anything other than what she was, or that what she could be. You know, all of us are always on a journey of trying to be better people, but not everybody can do that. It's difficult, more difficult for some than others. And through that experience as an OT, I came up with the thought that, however you are when you're younger, you're only more so when you're older. Those personality traits just tend to explode. Certainly not always, not with everyone, but they tend to explode as you get older. And for good reason sometimes. As you're getting older, you're realizing, one, that you're getting older. You're realizing that you can't do as much as you used to do. You don't look as good as you used to, in your mind, of course, not everybody else's. And it's frustrating and it's scary to lose function, be it cognitive or physical. It's frightening. And nearing death is also frightening for a lot of people. So I want you as a caregiver to understand that's where they're coming from. And that any attacks that they give to you, if they've been giving that to you ever since you were a child, well, there's no reason to expect that to end. That's how they are. That's how their brain is functioning. That's their only way they know how to communicate. So don't take it personally. Just understand that they're expressing their own pain. It has nothing to do with you 99% of the time. So what do you do? As a caregiver, how do you deal with that? How do you cope with that? Well, the very first thing I can say is to let it go. It's not, again, as I said, it's not against you. It's just they're the ones in pain. And one of the tricks that I learned in working with head trauma was when my patient would explode or would, create this angry outburst, and I would then respond with, "I'm so sorry you're in pain. Can I help in any way?" Or "How can I help?" Or just, "I'm so sorry you're in pain." Just those words, just that statement will usually calm them down, because then they begin to realize, oh, maybe this person really is listening to me or hearing me. Just like a child doesn't know how to tell you that they're hurting, they will cry, they will throw a tantrum, they will do whatever that seems like this horrible outburst. But really what they're trying to say is, I don't know what's happening to me, but something is happening and I don't know what it is. I don't know what to do with it. So if you can approach that outburst with that. Now, I will tell you that when I used that on my mother, she would be very angry, but to the point where she would stop yelling or stop talking, because she didn't know how to respond to that, because that meant then that she would have to open up and she would have to actually talk and get in touch with her own feelings, and that's something that she just couldn't do. So it was a way to quiet her down, but I will tell you that she wasn't very happy about it. But that's another story. So accept what your parent can give you, and don't expect them to give you what they can't, because clearly they simply can't, especially if they've been that way your entire life or even before. It just doesn't make sense to expect people to change. They normally don't. That's been my experience. If you have another experience, certainly let me know in the comments below. Oh, and I should say, if you like our videos and channel, subscribe. We appreciate each and every single one of our subscribers, and we answer all the comments that we get. Good, bad, ugly, pretty, whatever. Another tip that I can give you is to check in with yourself. Make sure that you're not in a place where you're agitated and frustrated, and that you will then respond angrily, because responding that way to them only escalates the situation. And that's something you definitely do not want to do, especially if you're dealing with someone who's suffering from dementia or Alzheimer's or a head injury. You definitely do not want to do that, because they cannot control that aspect of themselves usually. So if you find that you're in a place where you just want to scream back, maybe the best thing is to just walk away, step away, and even if you need to say, I need to step away for 5 minutes, I need to go to the bathroom, I need to go get a drink of water, whatever it is, step away, check in with yourself, get yourself to a place where you can calmly speak with them. Because usually when someone is very, very angry or mean, or berating you in any way, or whatever they say or do, usually by responding to them in a very nice and pleasant tone with loving words, puts them off. They don't quite know what to do with it. They may get angrier, like my mom did. They may just zip up and not say anything, walk away, but you at least know that you did the best that you could do, and now it's on them. Of course, they may not be able to realize that, but the point is you want to de-escalate the situation, whatever they're doing, even if they're swinging at you, or with words or hands, or throwing things. My mother loved to throw things. Yeah, that was a big one. Okay, avoid fighting. As I said, you want to avoid making them even angrier, and by you being angry at them, you're just escalating it. I know it's not easy. Believe me, I know it's not easy. There were times when I was taking care of my mother in the last few months that she was alive, that I would literally put on earplugs because she would just go on and on about whatever, and just making me feel, or trying to make me feel this small, but just put on the earplugs or listen to some music or whatever and let it go, if you can, of course. I know you can't always do that. If you can figure out, if you can learn to realize where that anger maybe came from, because I think that's what helped me with my mother, was realizing that she was raised by a mother who was also extremely angry and abusive in so many ways. So she learned those traits from her. On top of that, then she lived through this horrific war. I mean, in Sicily, there were bombs going, and I can't even imagine. And she, was married to a man who was abusive. Worrying all the time about where are we living, where do we have shelter, when can we get food, living in a foreign country with not knowing the language, here in America when they came. Life was not easy for this woman. It definitely wasn't, and she was very, very strong to survive it. And she did successfully. So that stubbornness, that strength got her through all of that, but it also blocked her off from being able to give to others. And she certainly didn't trust anybody, even us. No, she couldn't. She just simply couldn't. So once I understood that, once I realized all of that, that really helped me to see her in a different light and to appreciate what she could give, which was the fact that she did take care of us. She did things for us. She sewed our clothes. She cooked for us. She took care of us as best that she could. So I stopped expecting from her what I wanted and just accepting of what she could give. That has helped me a lot, not only with my mother, but with other people as well. I realize that they're coming from their own story, and who am I to judge them on how they're dealing with their story? And the very last tip that I want to tell you is to absolutely 100% take care of yourself. The oxygen mask goes on you first, nobody else. I have a great friend who is dealing with a horrific situation with her elderly mother who is very abusive to her, and she has found it difficult to tear herself away from this woman that she sees every single day. But finally, I think she's beginning to realize, she actually took some days off, and she's beginning to realize that this situation isn't going to get any better until she makes it better. And the only way she can do that is to step away from the situation, let someone else handle it. Her brothers, a caregiver, caretaker, whatever. Let someone else do some of the job, all of the job for a little while, so that she can get some respite, help, and get some rest, and get away from that constant negative feeling. Of course you love your elderly parents. I mean, we all love our parents. We just may not like them at times, just like they love us, but they probably didn't like us when we were 13 or 16 or whatever. So you love them, but that doesn't mean that you deserve the punishment that they give you. And in their mind, of course, it's not punishment. In their mind, who knows what's going on in their mind? Is it jealousy? Is it anger? Is it fear? Who knows? They don't know. Just like a small child, they don't understand what's happening, but they just know that they're hurting emotionally, and they don't know any other way to express it. So stay calm, step away, get yourself rest and respite help, delegate, and you will survive this. You will. I am living proof that it is survivable. I've worked with a lot of families to help them deal with their own elderly parents. It is survivable. So take care of yourselves. Don't forget to subscribe, click on the bell, give us your comments, let us know what you're going through, and we'll be happy to help any way that we can. All right, you guys take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye.